Lance Stroll has just decided to ruin his own career in a week, where he said he isn't sure what's next for him in 2025. Could we see the last of Lance this year, or will he be able to recover from this tragedy? Maybe an even better question, is Lawrence willing to drop his son so his team can finally prosper? It all started on lap 27. Fernando Alonso, locked up at the hairpin as the field prepared to resume racing, pushed the Aston Martin deep into the curve, forcing the cars behind to slow down to prevent illegal overtaking. George Russell, Oscar Piastri, and Ricciardo all managed to brake in time to avoid collision, but Stroll slammed into the back of the RB, lifting its rear into the air. And this accident, completely unnecessary, might have been the final nail in Stroll's coffin. Stroll appeared to be looking to the apex of the curve, ready for the restart, as on-board camera showed his helmet shifting to the right immediately before the collision and did not observe the cars braking to a near stop. "This idiot just slammed on the brake," the official F1 broadcast recorded Stroll as saying on the radio. But actually it was Lance himself who was the idiot this time. Ricciardo became aware of the statement when the TV coverage relayed it, and when he spoke to the media after the race, he was clearly agitated, saying it made my blood boil. "I'd slowly started to calm down, and then I was told what Lance thinks of the incident," Ricciardo remarked at the time. "And apparently I'm an idiot, and it was my fault. So, that made my blood boil, because it's clear as day, and it's also behind a safety car. The only thing you've got to do is watch the car in front. We can't predict what the leader is going to do. We can't assume that we're going to go in turn 14. The race doesn't start until the control line. I'm doing my best not to say what I want to say, but F that guy, and I'm being nice still. But if that's what he thinks, I'm like, yeah." Ricciardo stated that he would not go harder on Stroll because he might take some accountability when he receives it back. "Maybe in an hour when he sees it he might take some accountability, but if he doesn't, I can't help him, nor can anyone here," he said. "It's so frustrating. Obviously racing incidents happen, but behind a safety car that should never happen. What made my blood boil is I watched his onboard to just see it from his perspective. And as soon as we start braking, you can see his helmet turn right, and he's looking at the apex of turn 14. He's not even watching me. And then when he looks back, he's in the back of me. I don't know what he's doing, where his head is, but all he has to do is worry about me in that situation, and he clearly wasn't. Let's see what he says in the media. But if he comes after me, then I'll say more," he said. Danny Ric stated that he does not generally read much post-race media, but he would make sure to find out what Stroll said. Shortly after Daniel's appearance in the media mixed zone, Stroll argued that he was just very unlucky and that the penalty was harsh since the situation was odd and stupid. "I just got a penalty because of the end result, that I hit Ricciardo," Stroll went on to say. "But it's not like everything was normal and I just slammed into the back of him. There was a really odd concertina effect there. Someone braked at the front of the pack, I don't know who, and then everyone stopped. The car in front of me just stopped from like 60 kph to 0 and then boom, so it was really stupid. It's one of those." When Stroll was said that Daniel was critical and believed Stroll was blaming him, Stroll responded, "No, I don't think it's him. Everyone just slammed on the brakes, and he was the guy in front of me. I don't think he slammed on the brakes more than others. It was, like I said, the concertina effect. I don't know, but I find it's just, I got a penalty because of the end result that I hit Ricciardo, but it's not like everything was normal and I just ploughed into the back of him. It was a really odd concertina effect that I would have liked to see the stewards take into consideration, maybe a little bit more." The Aston Martin driver went on to explain that he had not seen the incident coming, adding, "I guess a little bit wrong place at the wrong time too. You know, I was on his gearbox kind of thing and ready for the restart and just very unlucky. We were having a good race until then, so it's a shame." Stroll is correct that he would not have struck Daniel if the cars ahead of him had not backed up, but he has effectively been penalised for failing to pay attention and reacting in the same way as others. And the RB man said that having seen Stroll's on board, the movement of his head to the right also makes my blood boil, because all you have to do is worry about me in that situation, and he clearly wasn't. He also argued that the severity of Stroll's strike indicated that it was more than simply a typical misjudgment in those circumstances. "It's not like he just tapped me and gave me a puncture or something. He went underneath my car," Daniel added. "He hit me so fast. It's not an unlucky thing where he's just tapped me." The stewards' decision makes it plain that they believe Stroll should have been more aware. The stewards reviewed positioning marshalling system data, video, timing, and in-car video evidence and determined that car 18 Stroll collided with car 3, Ricciardo, at turn 14. The cars were all travelling slowly to set up for the restart of the race towards the end of a safety car period. The car in front of car 18 slowed down to take the corner and also to try to match the pace of the group of cars in front of it. Car 18 then collided with car 3. We determined that car 18 ought to have anticipated the pace of the cars in front, particularly car 3, and should have prepared to brake accordingly. Had it done that, it would have avoided the collision. Hence, car 18 was predominantly to blame for the collision that ultimately led to car 3 having to retire from the race. Along with the 10-second time penalty, Stroll received 2 penalty points on his license, bringing his total to 5 for the current 12-month term. However, Ricciardo stated that Stroll accepting responsibility was more crucial than punishing him more. The biggest thing is, if they're like, oh, we'll give him a 5-place penalty the next race, but he still is then blaming me, that's a bigger problem, said Daniel. I want him to understand once the dust settles, if he's still hot-headed today, he needs to learn from this. We've all made mistakes. I've done it. We all have. As long as he understands that he was the one that's ruined not only his race but mine, that's the biggest thing we can take away. This all happened in a weekend where Lance Stroll made vague comments about his future in Formula 1 during a recent media interview prior to the Chinese Grand Prix. This comes as curiosity grows regarding his role at Aston Martin as the company prepares for significant changes with Honda in 2026, and his teammate Fernando Alonso has signed a multi-year contract deal. Lance Stroll's career has always been reasonably solid, thanks to his father, Lawrence Stroll, who owns the Aston Martin F1 team. This peculiar scenario has frequently kept him out of the typical churn of driving market speculation. However, subsequent developments and statements have shifted the attention to his future with the squad, and the accident during the Chinese Grand Prix won't have made things better for Stroll's future. Combine this with his ever-present aura of looking bored and out of place, and you might start to wonder, when is it enough for his father, Lawrence Stroll? Will he ever see Aston Martin as more than a means to an end for his son? Lawrence must decide quick as Aston Martin prepares for a substantial transition, including a new alliance with Honda as engine supplier beginning in 2026. Team dynamics are likely to change. With significant expenditures in cutting-edge infrastructure, including a new simulator and campus, the team's strategy is clear. They are preparing for a competitive future in the sport. Lance Stroll himself also made vague statements regarding his future, which has sparked more rumors. During a media session in China, he said, "Time will tell. I'm just thinking about China right now, and we'll see what the future holds." It's China, the focus this weekend. These statements highlight a contractual uncertainty surrounding Stroll's time at Aston Martin. Unlike other drivers whose contract specifics are more public, Stroll's position remains unique, leaving the F1 community speculating about his next movements. Stroll's technical opinion was highly regarded by the team and made a big contribution to the development plan. However, it remains unclear whether his contribution will be enough to maintain his spot for another season as the squad grows more ambitious about their performance objectives, especially after this Chinese GP accident. What do you think? Is Lance's position still secure for next season? Or will Aston Martin look for another second driver? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below.